Greetings, this is Stan for the Christian Entrepreneur Network. Let's get to the point. What do you want? 4 words. What do you want? And in one of the most significant questions that will help us not only in our life, our walk with God in the Spirit that He gives us, but in the business that we have chosen to build as Christian entrepreneurs. What do you want? Jesus asked that question quite often. We have it recorded a number of times, and obviously we don't have anywhere near all of His transactions and conversations recorded, so it probably was done quite often. You see, because obviously the stories we have are very selected ones, as He really was going full speed and making His mark in the 3 years of His ministry. So what the gentleman did who picked the story apart and gave us parts of it is they chose some of the significant things that we believe that God's Spirit led them to share with us so that we might know Him and experience Him deeply. But there's a lot of other things that obviously happened. It said He did all kinds of things that are almost too numerous to mention. But He did say, "What do you want? How can I help you? What do you want me to do for you? What do you want? How can I help you? What do you want me to do for you?" Now, if you're an entrepreneur, and you are, whether you know it or not, you just are whether you are a good one or not. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have to deal with some of those questions. In fact, you're going to have to deal with them all the time for the rest of your life. So, could I give you a little exercise in helping to build your life and your business by learning to ask the want question? Because unfortunately, only 3% of the population take the time, the energy, and the effort to figure out, by God's good grace and by my own giftedness, God's grace, my giftedness, what do I want? Now, I'm going back again to my old book. By the way, here's a little new thing for you. Please keep in mind, if there's something new that's good, something brand good new, it probably came from something old. What's new and good came from something old. And part of what life is all about is finding what is old and seeing if it can be made new again. One of the goals of life is to find what is good in what is old and make it new again. Just let that sit on your head for a while. So I'm going back to my old book, and you know what? I found out that I wasn't very smart at that time, but some of that stuff was pretty good. It was almost accidental greatness. And as my friend Bernie says, that's a subject in itself. Accidental greatness. And I say, it's amazing grace. Accidental greatness. Yeah, that's a conversation for another time. But what I did is, after writing my story about image, which was our TeachAbout last week, I simply went into the question, what do you want? What do you want? And I had some cute little quotes from that, but then I went on, and here's how I'd like to begin our time today. I'm going to give you 5 quick questions that will help you, and by the way, your colleagues, to figure out what it is you want out of life and business. All right, here we begin. Question number 1. How do you want to be remembered? St. Augustine, oh, that's old, 1700 years ago, said that was the classic question. How do you want to be remembered? When you're gone, and you will go sometime, how do you want people to remember you? Later in his life, even the great management consultant of the 20th and 21st century, at least the beginning of it, Peter Drucker, literally, I think, the management consultant guru of the pioneer, said that if he had to do it over again, he would learn that he really could not help a business leader or an executive who could not answer that question. What do you want? Okay, you have a company here. You have a life here. You have a responsibility here. What do you want? And if you can't tell me what you want, there's a good chance I can't help you, because I can't help you get what you need and get what you want if you don't know what you want. What do you want? Personally, took the old Radio Corporation of America, one of the first radio companies in the world, RCA, Victor, and I took the RCA and it worked. How do you want to be remembered in terms of your relationships with other people? How do you want people to think of you in terms of your relationships? As a boss, as a client, as a customer, as a colleague, as a parent, as a community leader, as a member of your church, how do you want to be remembered by other folks? Your relationships. What about your character? You know, the content of your character, to use Martin Luther King Jr., the Reverend Doctor. And that was important to his call. He was a pastor first, and then he was a doctor second, and he was a civil rights activist third. That's right. That's true. But he said it is not the color of our skin, it's the content of our character. And he took it very seriously that we are to do things to improve our character. What do you want your character to be like? A, we live in an aspirational and an achieving society, so what do you want to achieve? What are some of the real tangible, concrete, real things that are living and breathing and existing and helping in the world? What do you want to achieve? Can you tell me about that? Can you talk to me about that? By the way, I'd love to help you. I'm a good coach at that. And it's very important for you if you're going to be successful in your business. One lady said to me, Stan, what you did for me 23 years ago in taking me through this exercise was what saved me and kept me going when things got really tough. How do you want to be remembered? Most of my best decisions came out of that knowledge. Okay, question number 2. What do you want to have, to do, to become, and who do you want to serve? Have. Stuff. I have a studio. I've always wanted a video studio and a radio studio. Well, it's a small one and it's in my home, and I'd like to have a bigger and better one someplace outside of my home, and my wife would certainly like that too, but it's what I wanted. I love to perform, I love to do radio, and I love to do television, and I wanted my own studio rather than having to go to one. What do you want to have? Write down your list of haves. Stuff. Things. Some of them are important, some of them are not so important. One time I wanted to have a sports car. I wrote that down. I want to have a sports car, a little sports car. I got one. Cross that off the list. It was okay. Didn't turn out to be nearly as much fun as I thought it was. And after a few years, I found a way to sell it. Lost money on it. I wanted a sports car, but my wants changed. Don't want one anymore. But what are the things you want to have? What do you want to do? What's on that list of do bucket list? Well, I said that I perhaps would like to live out in the sunny land of Arizona. That's what I'd like to do. Well, it turned out I was able to achieve that. And there are a number of other things I'd like to do. I'd like to go visit the land of Jesus and the Holy Land. I don't know if I'll ever get to do that. Many of my friends have. I'd like to do that. I don't know if I'll make it. But it's some things I'd like to do. More importantly, who would I like to become? A communicator, a teacher, a broadcaster, a person of significance. you know where that's going. What do you want to become? However you define that. And fourth, and this is the key to the three, is who do you believe God has called you to serve? Principle number one of the Christian entrepreneur is you have to serve somebody. And if you don't serve anybody, you'll end up serving yourself, and that's nobody. You have to serve someone else. Who are the people you want to serve, and what do you want them to feel, experience, and do? What kind of experience do you want to have your service do for them? What do you want to have? What do you want to do? What do you want to become? Who do you want to serve, and how? Can you tell me those question answers? Let me tell you, the more you know about who you are and what you want, the more effective you will be in growing your business. Only 3% of the population have this kind of internal knowledge, this kind of what I call inner authority. And by the way, I'm going to teach you in another TeachAbout that artificial intelligence, AI, is not as important as IA. Artificial intelligence, AI, is not nearly as important as IA. And that's something we'll talk about. Something that has something to do with what do you want. Question number 3. Okay. What do you want to be when you grow up? Fun question. What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, most of us gave up those childhood ambitions, but you know what? A lot of what you said at that time was probably deep inside of your heart and spirit, and you just kind of forgot about it, or forgot why you wanted it. I oftentimes say, when you ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, what did you say? You know what? You may be 40, 50, 60 years of age, but what you said when you were 4 or 5 and 6 might have had some significance. Why don't you go back and visit that? Most people, according to a famous philosopher named Walter Lippmann, he said the problem with life is that almost everybody grows old, but hardly anybody grows up. Would you like to be one of the grown-ups? I would. And what does that mean? And what would I like to be as a grown-up? I'm growing up. Most people didn't grow up, but I believe that God has called me and I've tried to grow up. And now what do I want to be that I'm growing up? By the way, that'll be a much more significant question, you think. You're laughing at it now, but don't laugh. It's a vital question. What do you want to be when you finally grow up? Question number 4 is something that, in effect, will perhaps help you to narrow it down a bit. Where do you want to be in 3 years? Okay. Right now I'm recording this in January of 2019. Stan, where do you want to be in January 2022? If by God's grace you got 3 more years, and you may not, but where do you want to be in 3 years? Your life, your career, your family, your situation. Where do you want to be? A lot of it you certainly have no control over. But if you did, and if you could, and what you can, where do you want to be in 3 years? Then, finally, we get very practical and just simply say, how do you want your life to be different in the next 6 months? Just start there. As someone once said, most people don't know how they want life to be different in the next 6 days. Some of them haven't thought past the next 6 hours. But the way to start the exercise is simply to cut the year in half and say, okay, in the next 6 months, how do I want my life to be different? That might be a goal that's achieved. That might be something that got done. It might be something you've become, whatever it might be. But what would make life different that would be good and helpful and useful and soulful, good for your soul, in the next 6 months? Can you think about that? There we go. Jesus said, what do you want? And if he asks you that question, what would you tell him? And remember, how do you want to be remembered? Okay, good question. What do you want to have? What do you want to do? Who do you want to become? Who are you called to serve? What do you want to be when you grow up? How do you want and your life and space and place to be in the next 3 years? And how do you want life to be different in the next 6 months? There's more to it, and I'd be glad to help you. That's what I'm here for. StanHusted@gmail.com, StanHusted@gmail.com. I've helped many people work these issues and build their business and been successful. I'd be glad to help you. StanHusted@gmail.com. I'm the co-founder of the Christian Entrepreneur Network and the leader of a number of broadcasts, including our flagship one, the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience podcast. By the way, one of the things I want to do in the next 3 years is teach hundreds of you to be radio broadcasters. That's what I want to do. Teach hundreds of you to be radio broadcasters. I can do that. I can do it well. And I want to help you join and build a business with, as I oftentimes say, your broadcast systems. Every business will need to be broadcasting. I'd love to help you do that. So, StanHusted@gmail.com, StanHusted@gmail.com. Check me out where we hang out, tcenglobal.org, tcenglobal.org. If you would like to help us out as we grow this organization, I would be grateful. tcenglobal.org/contribute now. tcenglobal.org/contribute now. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. May your day be blessed. Until next time, bye for now.